Aaron here from Cool Guys Who Sit at Home, and welcome to Crystal City Terrain Part 3. You might remember this. It's the test crystalline structure that I made a few weeks ago, and I'm going to be taking you step by step through the construction and painting of this terrain piece. The materials that you'll be needing for this project are insulation foam. Now, insulation foam is cheap and easy to find. However, it's sold in very large sheets, usually 4x8 or 4x10. So I have a small car and I went to buy it and it wound up being a nightmare to get it home. I had to break it up and cut it into a bunch of small pieces. So definitely, if you're going to go buy a sheet or two of this, find a friend with a truck or a van. Then you'll need a serrated knife to cut it. As far as paint goes, you're going to need a heavy-duty white undercoat primer. You can probably use any normal wall primer. I like this stuff. It's really thick. It works really well. The reason that we're using that primer is because the final coat is a clear lacquer, and this is not water soluble, and it will also melt your styrofoam unless you have a protective barrier between your final coat and the styrofoam itself, which is why we're using the thick white undercoat. The brushes that you'll need is a 1-inch brush, a 1/2-inch brush, a medium or large dry brush, and a fine detail brush. Remember, don't use brand new expensive brushes on this project. Use your old cruddy brushes. You're not going to need the detail and precision of a new expensive brush. And then as far as detailing paint, we're going to use some skull white, some ultramarine blue, and dark purple. And again, this stuff isn't too critical. You can probably replace it with whatever 3 colors you want. So as you can see here, I have a crystal that's pre-painted and it has not been varnished yet, but pretty much what we're going to be doing is just a really easy wet blend across the whole thing. So I have this piece, it's already primed and it's dried. The other pieces we did earlier are still drying, and so let's quickly paint this up. So I'm going to start with my 1/2-inch brush. And I'm going to grab some blue. I'm just going to get it in here. I'm going to add some water to it. Thin it down. I'm going to grab some purple, and in a separate bin I'm going to put the purple. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of water to the purple around. Now I'm going to use the 1-inch brush for the purple and the 1/2-inch brush for the blue. So we take our crystal and we just add a nice thin line of purple, and then we add a thin line of blue, and I'm just going to start brushing them together. And if you think your colors are too heavy, which I think it is a little bit here, go ahead and add a little bit of water and just sort of let them mix. And I'm just going to keep adding purple and blue and mixing them around. And that's going to give us our nice marble sort of crystal look. And then once I get it all completely covered, we're just going to set it aside and let it dry. So here again, it's covered, and I'm just going to put it over here and let it dry. So once your crystal is dry, you're going to put your final details on it, which is going to be with white. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to follow all of the angles with a nice thin stripe of white, and then any of the little grit pieces, the rough edges that kind of poke up, we're just going to hit with a little bit of white. And this is really going to make your colors and your crystal pop. And when you put the gloss on it, it's going to look like the edges are just really shining and glowing. So the last step is, once you've painted and detailed your crystals, you need to add your lacquer. Now lacquer is not water soluble, so you're going to need mineral spirits to clean your brushes. And it's important that you clean your brushes right away. It's also important that you do this in a very, very well ventilated area, maybe even outside or at least next to a window, because you really, really don't want to poison yourself or get sick. So I went ahead and finished painting our base, and everything else is dry from the clear lacquer that we put on top, and now we're going to go ahead and assemble it. And in order to finish this, you're going to need a few toothpicks, some PVA glue, your knife, and your painted pieces. Just stick your toothpick in and get it nice and gluey. And you have your own crystal structure that you can put out on your terrain.